The Banners. This lecture was delivered to Research Royal Arch Chapter number 100 of the Supreme Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Queensland on Wednesday the 6th of August 1947 by Right Excellent Companion A.T. Pollard, PGH, First Principal. When the Israelites marched through the wilderness after their deliverance from the captivity in Egypt to the Promised Land, it was necessary that order and regulation be observed, that every tribe receive an equal share of care and attention, also performed a share of work and toil, that the greatest good may result to the benefit of all. The several tribes were easily distinguished by the ensign they bore. On these were the distinctive bearings of the tribe, figurative of the peculiar blessing bequeathed to the father of each by the patriarch Jacob, who, before his death, assembled them together for that purpose. During their journeyings, they were placed in a particular position, also when encamped around the tabernacle. They were divided into 4 divisions, with 3 tribes in each, in the following order. The Eastern Division comprised the tribes of Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The Southern Division, Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. The Western Division, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. The Northern Division, Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. The Eastern Division was led by the tribe of Judah. Its banner thus became the standard of the division. The standard of Judah was borne by Nashon, its prince. It was designated by a lion couchant, surmounted by a crown and scepter on a crimson field, in accordance with the blessing, Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall be the gathering of the people be. Judah was the chief tribe, and was more eminently distinguished, both for prosperity in war and peace, and quietness in the home. Its dignity was marked by divine favour, the choosing of David from this tribe to be the instrument of his blessing to the people of Israel. Thus, to the tribe of Judah was assigned the most honourable station in the camp, viz., in the east, before the tabernacle, and under its standard the tribes of Issachar and Zebulun pitched their tents. The lion is symbolical of strength and power, majesty and kingly rule. Issachar was the second tribe in the Eastern Division. Its banner was sky blue, and its device a crouching ass, the colour of sky blue, meaning the heavenly colour, the Lord of heaven, perfection, heavenly character, conduct, fidelity. The name Issachar means he brings or is wages. The banner of Issachar was borne by the standard bearer by the prince Nathaniel. As stated, its colour was sky blue and was charged with a strong ass, crouching beneath its burden. The ass is a patient animal and a proper symbol of labour. Jacob's blessing to this, his 5th son, was, Issachar is a strong ass, crouching down between the sheepfolds. And he saw a resting place that it was good, and the land that it was pleasant. And he bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant under the taskwork. Accordingly, we find the posterity of Issachar sat down quietly upon the land and cultivated it with diligence and assiduity. Thus we see that the ass, crouching between 2 burdens, is a symbolical representation of the indolent character of this tribe, a character plainly shown as a quiet, stolid, persevering, shrewd, brave, practical man, with great powers of patience and endurance, industrious withal, and submissive to authority. It is a picture of one who enjoys rest and comfort, but at the same time is willing to earn it by hard drudgery. A picture of a patient plodder, hardy, healthy and robust, content to stay at home because he finds there what satisfies his wants and meets his modest aspirations. And, indeed, it is no wonder that Issachars, as a tribe, were content to stay at home. For Issachar's resting place was indeed among clover. His portion was the fat of the land, the cream of Palestine. Jezreel, the sowing place of God. The banner of the tribe of Zebulun was erected by the prince Eliab. It was purple, the design a ship. The blessing of his father reads, Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be upon Zidon. The tribe of Zebulun was the third tribe of the eastern division. Of this tribe it is said, Zebulun, in thy going out, bringing the abundance of the seas, we know what that bespeaks. We know what spirits proximity to the sea and possession of ships and harbours meet and develop in a people. Even the spirit of adventure, the spirit of enterprise, the spirit of brave acceptance of risks, the spirit of restless endeavour. Zebulun has accordingly become typical of such a spirit: adventure, daring, enterprise, and energy. The Zebulons of the human family are your bold, adventurous spirits whose welfare depends so much on finding a suitable sphere. Restless, go-ahead ones who need scope for their energies to develop the best in them. There turns up a Zebulun in many a family. We later find 4 of the apostles called of this tribe, and so found scope for their energies in labour for their master. Thus the eastern division of the army of Israel numbered, of the tribe of Judah, 74,600, of the tribe of Issachar, 54,400, of the tribe of Zebulun, 57,400. The total for the eastern division was 186,400. The leading tribe of the southern division was the tribe of Reuben. The great banner of the division, which was borne by Prince Elizur, was another of the cherubic forms, viz. A man, because Reuben was the firstborn of his father. The name Reuben means, behold, a son. The colour of the banner was red, symbolical of earthly glory. The device, a man, signifies intelligence, human nature, compassion, and sympathy. His blessing of his father reads, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed. Then defilest thou it. He went to my couch. Poor Reuben, he fairly got a knockout blow that day when, as the eldest of the family, he took his place at the head of his brethren by his father's bedside. As firstborn, he should have received the rights and privileges which includes a double portion of those assigned to his brethren, and also the leadership or headship of the clan. As for the leadership, nominally it had been Reuben's all the time, but actually it had long since dropped out of his hand and had been picked up by Judah, to whom, rather than to Reuben, father and sons had got into the way of looking for counsel and guidance. Thus it was that the weakness of Reuben lost him his birthright. There are many Reubens today who become unstable and are overcome by their passions and fall, though full of high gifts, born with a silver spoon in their mouth, the ball of life at their feet, great things expected of them, that they are destined for big things, that they will go far, that they will reach high, but they have never arrived, all because of the Reuben luck. As Moses, at the blessing of the tribe in the book of Deuteronomy, said, Lest Reuben live and not die, and let the men be few, which looks like a polite way of saying, there must needs be Reubens among us, but the fewer the better. Let no one say I am a Reuben born unstable as water, no hope of excelling for me. There is a hope for Reuben as for others. His interests are secured under the covenant, and the grace of the covenant can work wonders. Let no Reuben despair. Grace gives him, too, his chance of raising his dead self to higher and better things. The banner of Simeon is yellow, the design a tower or a sword. Simeon and Levi were joined. The name Simeon means hearing with acceptance. The name of Levi means joined or cleaving to. The symbol of the sword, slaughter, power for judgment, symbol of judgment. Prince Shelumiel, as leader of the tribe of Simeon, bore a yellow banner emblazoned with a tower or a sword. Simeon and Levi were represented by the implement of war, the former by a sword and the latter by a dagger, in allusion to the abhorrence of Jacob of the cruelty of these two sons. Simeon and Levi are of a very different caliber from Reuben, their full brother. He was weak, but amiable, and they were strong, but unamiable. They stand forth hand in hand, representatives of a cruel, fierce, vindictive disposition. They are put together in Jacob's blessing. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Weapons of violence are their swords. O my soul, come not thou into their council, unto their assembly, my glory, be thou not united. For in their anger they slew men, and in their self-will they houghed oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it was cruel fierce, and in their wrath, for it was cruel. And I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Having been associated in wickedness, it was ordained by a superintending providence that their posterity should be disunited, that they might not be furnished with an opportunity of working evil upon their brethren. Hence, the tribe of Simeon had little or no possessions in the promised land, but dwelt in the midst of Judah. As for the tribe of Levi, it was entirely dispersed among the other tribes and devoted exclusively to the service of the altar. Let us not forget that if there is, in this life, there are penalties for past sins from which there is no deliverance, so that life can never be as it might have been if that sin had not been committed. There is also the possibility of turning these very penalties into stepping stones to higher places. The past may be irrevocable, but God is always proffering fresh starts and new chances. The banner of Gad is white, the design a troop of horsemen. The colour white means purity, righteousness, justice. Gad means overcoming and good fortune. Jacob's blessing to Gad reads, "A troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at last." The banner of the tribe of Gad was under the charge of Prince Eliasaph. It was white with the design of a troop of horsemen. It was in allusion to this name that Jacob foretold the many difficulties that would be opposed to the progress of his posterity by the hostility of their neighbours. And, though they suffered defeat on many occasions, yet, in the end, by divine assistance, they were able to establish themselves firmly on the portion allotted to them. It, being beyond the Jordan, was subject to the incursions of the Ammonites, who were at length, by the military ability of Jephthah, finally subdued, and troubled them no more. Thus the blessing was fulfilled. They were overcome many times, but the undaunted spirit of Gad would not allow him to acknowledge defeat. This example should encourage each one of us to cultivate the spirit of Gad. It is an invaluable asset in every department of life's work and warfare. Let us, therefore, remember that God has given us not the spirit of fear or cowardice, but the spirit of power and courage, and to find in defeat and failures not a cause for despair, but a summons to a higher devotion and a larger endeavour. The total number of the southern division of the army of Israelites is as follows. The tribe of Reuben, 46,500. The tribe of Simeon, 59,300. The tribe of Gad, 45,650. A total of 151,450. The banner of Ephraim is dark green, and the design is that of an ox. The name Ephraim means twofold increase, very fruitful. The ox denotes patience, industry, and strength. The banner of Ephraim was the leading standard of the Western Division. Ephraim stepped into the inheritance of his father Joseph and was elevated into one of the leading tribes of Israel. His dark green banner, borne by Prince Elishama, was consecrated with the figure of a cherubic emblem of the deity. For Jehovah said, "Ephraim is the strength of mine head." Jacob's blessing to Joseph, the father of Ephraim, was, "Joseph is a fruitful bough by a fountain. His branches run over a wall." We find, if we look at the life of Joseph, that it supplies abundant material for the study and illustration of expansion and fruitfulness. He grew till he became a great tree, in whose shadow his brethren and others found shelter. This was his reward for his adherence to and his continued faith in the God of Jacob, his father. After the many trials and patient endurance during the early years of his residence in Egypt, the path he trod brought him to that victorious achievement and their blessing that enabled him to assist his family in their time of need. The banner of Manasseh was flesh-coloured. The design was a vine on a wall. The name Manasseh means forgetting or forgetfulness. Prince Gamaliel led the tribe of Manasseh. Their tents were pitched under a flesh-coloured banner, which was charged with a luxuriant vine planted by the side of a wall, which its tendrils overhung. Manasseh, being the son of Joseph, he shared with Ephraim the blessing of his father, and the future of both these tribes was fulfilled by their preeminence. The banner of Benjamin is green, the design a wolf. Benjamin means son of my right hand, or son of days, or old age. The banner was borne by the Prince Abidan, and, as stated, was green, emblazoned with a wolf, because it was ever a warlike and cruel tribe. It was predicted that Benjamin is a wolf that raveneth, and in the morning he shall devour his prey, and at even he shall divide the spoil. Though Benjamin was a great favourite with Jacob, as, being his youngest son, he gave him no special blessing, but described him as the father of a fierce and warlike people, which was amply exhibited in the many attacks made on the other tribes and the overcoming of them in battle. Saul also sprang from this tribe and was possessed of great military talents. Practically the whole of his life was spent in war, and he and his sons were slain in battle. It is thus quite evident that the prediction of Jacob, his father, was of divine inspiration. Benjamin was the smallest of the tribes, but the wolf in him made up for his deficiency in numbers and made him at once a force to reckon with and an ugly customer to deal with. The Benjaminites were adroit and courageous warriors, as, if, in despite of their name, son of my right hand, they seem to have acquired a deadly proficiency in the use of their left hand. They were famous in Israel for their slinging and archery, and, when their backs were to the wall, they defied all comers. King Saul, the Benjaminite, entered well into Jacob's blessing, but in the eventide of his life there was no spoil for him to divide. He was in the spoil of others. St. Paul, twice in the course of his epistle, mentions the fact that he belonged to the tribe of Benjamin, and mentions it in such a way as to show that in his day he had been proud of belonging to that ilk. The wolf of Benjamin was in his blood and revealed itself in his energy, intensity, courage, and covetousness of attainment. It was innate in him alike as Saul the persecutor and as Paul the apostle. As a persecutor of the church, he was particularly wolfish in his raids on the fold. Then he was apprehended by the divine grace of the Master. Grace laid hold of him. Before, without knowing it, he let himself become the devil's wolf, greedy for the blood of the saints. He remained a wolf when grace got hold of him, but he was henceforth the Lord's wolf, greedy and athirst for souls to bring to the Lord's feet. Thus, we are to learn to use our failings for the benefit of righteous things, to the glory of the true and living God Most High. The number of each tribe in the Western Division was: the tribe of Ephraim, 40,500, the tribe of Manasseh, 32,200, the tribe of Benjamin, 35,400, and the total 108,100. The banner of Dan was bright green, the device an eagle. The name Dan signifies judging. The eagle signifies strength, heavenly vision, also symbol of omniscience. Jacob said, Dan shall judge his people. The tribe was the largest next to Judah, and it was for this reason probably that it was placed in the rear. The great banner was borne by Prince S.G.R.A. Jacob also said, He shall be a serpent in the way. The tribe of Dan was remarkable for defeating the enemies rather by policy than by force, of which there are many instances in the Bible. We must also remember that the tribe of Dan were the ringleaders of idolatry. Dan had distinctive talents of his own. Jacob saw in Dan qualities and characteristics which, rightly developed and applied, would make him a valuable asset to Israel, by making him an ugly customer to the Philistines. He saw in him something of the subtlety of the serpent and the adroitness of the adder, fitting him for the role which was to be his of border raider or guerrilla fighter, versed in cunning strategy, watchful of his opportunity to strike a quick blow from ambush at a passing troop. Another of the talents of Dan was along industrial lines. It showed itself in deftness of hand and skill in workmanship, as is evidenced alike in the building of the tabernacle and the temple. In the building of the tabernacle, we well know of Aholiab of the tribe of Dan, a curious carver and embroiderer, in blue, in purple, in scarlet, and in fine linen, whilst, in the case of the temple, the king of Tyre said to Solomon, I have sent a cunning workman, endued with understanding, the son of a woman of the daughters of Dan. Thus we learn that Dan's attributes and talents consecrated to the service of the master become a valuable asset. The banner of Asher was purple, the device a cup. The name Asher means upright, happy, or fortunate. Purple means royalty, Christ as King and Lord, heavenly and earthly glory, kingly dignity. His blessing reads, His bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Prince Pagiel unfurled the banner of Asher, the cup. Asher's tribe is promised a tract of land in the Holy Land, which should be fruitful and prolific, and accordingly it produced the necessities of life in abundance, and Mount Carmel abounded in the choicest fruits. Asher's is the sort of blessing which most of us can readily enough appreciate. It is the blessing desired by a great many of us, the privilege of material abundance with its attendant promise of ease and comfort, independence and influence. The blessing may be, our portion may not be of material abundance, but perhaps knowledge, understanding, sympathy and goodwill, and to use the blessing aright, we are to give our possessions fully and freely to all. If we were to enter fully into Asher's heritage, we must not only be eaters and enjoyers, but also purveyors and dispensers of our God-given blessings. The banner of Naphtali is royal blue, the design a hind let loose. The name Naphtali means my wrestling or twisting. The blessing, Naphtali is a hind let loose, he giveth goodly words. The banner of Naphtali was borne by Prince S.G.R.A. The prophecy denotes that the posterity of Naphtali should be a spirited and free people. it also carries with it the idea of hard struggle, and likewise with it the assurance of struggle rewarded. Descriptive of conflict, it is at the same time indicative of achievement crowning conflict. One remembers that the portion of the promised land given to Naphtali was Upper Galilee, along with the fertile terraces which dip down from Mount Tabor. It is said there is something in the free air of mountains that goes a long way to make heroes and warriors. We recall that in her great fight for freedom, Deborah owed much to her Highland Brigade, the men of Naphtali, and Barak, her chief henchman, was a man of Naphtali. Centuries later, the land of Naphtali provided the Maccabees with their best fighters in their struggle for independence. Again, the land of Naphtali was the scene of much of our Lord's ministering. In it, most of his mighty work was done. As one might put it, its flowers, its fruit, its crops, its manners and customs, its birds and beasts were all used to illumine the gospel message, to bring light first to the people and through them to others. The first messenger of the gospel and the kingdom went forth from the land of Naphtali, and the chief of them were the natives of the soil. The northern division of the army of Israel numbered the tribe of Dan, 62,700, the tribe of Asher, 41,500, the tribe of Naphtali, 53,400, and the total 157,600. The total of the 4 divisions of the army of Israel: in the eastern division, 186,400, in the southern division, 151,450, in the western division, 108,100, in the northern division, 157,600, giving a total of 603,550.